So in classical Chinese medicine, what are the roles of emotions? How do they fit in with our health?
Emotion is the driving force for life. So, but also is the design for adjusting the balance of the life, like yin and yang. So therefore, in our human body, we have a very, very complicated, the information and the feedback system. It's like you get to stimulate, you react, and then that reacts to stimulate your hormone and your nerve system, and so make you either happy or nervous or depressed, and then your body quickly responds. So that's why the emotion directly engaging with the nervous system and the body fluid and the hormone, and also it's very powerful. It's like a balance mechanism. So that's why Chinese medicine said, if you simply get the cold from temperature from outside, so they were going through the skin and then meridians and muscles, and then they're going to organs, and they're going to the bone, and so that there's like the stages by stage take a little bit while, like the time. But emotion will directly hit into the organs, almost 1 second.
And it can stay there.
Oh yes, depends on how. Depends on your ability how to judge the emotion. So lots of people will think, especially people who are fully educated, and they are very especially the people will be influenced about you need to be logic, you need to be cool and to think, and not driven by the emotion. I just want to mention that it's quite interesting. I noticed, like in the West, in the Taoist, we think West is much more related with the metal, and the East much more in the location is linked with the wood, because in the I Ching it's like a south is a fire. North is water, as you know, the feng shui. West is metal, east is wood. So the metal is much more like autumn, it's cool, calm down, and then withdraw inside. But in the east, it's wood. It's that's why now it's a spring. Spring is like wood starts. It's back to life again, and the wood leaves growing, and shoots come out, and the grass come out. It's like reflect as like a dragon energy going up. So that's why the eastern much more like wood, and the west much more like metal. So from their location aspect, from I Ching aspect, since I've been in the West for so long, I start realizing Western people are very cool. It's like very much logic and very much kind of driving. So if you want to be a leader, you're not supposed to be driven by the emotion, and then need to be very calm. But and then in the East, always like you need to show your emotion to show your care of the people. And if you don't show your emotion, you're not good leader. So that's one of the reasons now we can see. But if we don't really understand how emotion really connecting with our life of the body and above the body, mind, and the soul, so and we will really come out to be unbalanced. For example, if you're overdressed logic, if we are kind of a miscarriage or really pressed the emotion down. So therefore, and then quite lots of people very sensitive in the culture which very emphasize logic, and they can be feel very depressed. Because your emotion need to have some window to express, need to be rising up, and then need to show your love, need to be kind of a singing and a dance and very happy. But you know, if you're being told if you're doing that, you're psychotic. So that will cause the lots of emotion disease. You know, for example, in the Chinese medicine, we said, you know, there's 7 emotions, but actually the emotion associated with the 5 elements. So, and related with the 5 organs. For example, the happiness, the joy linked with heart, the anger link with liver. You know, the sorrow, and feel sorrow is linked with the lung, and overthinking, thinking, worry too much, linked with the spleen, and the fear linked with the kidney. So, well, those I'm only addressing the one side. Please be careful, not just only take that literally, because in the emotion linked with any organs, they have 2 aspects. Because, for example, the liver, because their character need to express and need to be, you know, opening up, rising up the energy. So that's why, you know, when the people angry, they show they're angry, so you can see the face really red colors. So the shoot for the heat come out to the top. So that's partly because if the people really need this kind of energy, so that's why that's happening. But if in the situation you need to have this kind of integrity and show your opinion, and to the people unfair, so that's why people show the angry to the unfair situation. If you don't showing that, so you press back, so you were depressed. So that's one of the reasons why if a liver also have 2 aspects, either depressed or really express themselves. So that's why how can we wisely and understand how is the body function to keep energy balanced. So you need to understand yourself. So for example, the metal people can be very cool. You know, the metal people like the lung, as means very decisive, very quick, very sharp, like a, you know, policeman and a judge and you know, the army force. So they're very, very quick. But also, if they're doing that too much, they don't let the energy rising up, connecting with the heaven, which is the liver. So therefore, they could be quite harmful, because you need the compassionate and the love to guide this kind of decisive behavior. So that's why, so each kind of emotion, they have another part, which either you, it's like yin and yang. So there's nothing is about the right or wrong. It's about in which situation that emotion engage and function. So so because our body is a complex system, it's like a whole. So the emotion is complex, you know, interacting with each other as like a circling system. For example, in Chinese medicine, the kidney is linked with the fear. So when we always say when this person so fearful, like when there's a bump happening, they're so fearful. So they start urine and start pool, means because the kidney in charge of their urine and the kidney. So that means as soon as the fear comes, the body actually have an instant reaction. So that's why it was in the literature they always mentioned, said when the gun pull that person's head, so his appear on his pants because it was so fearful. So therefore, when we were looked their fear actually is a very deep setting for the emotion, because we need fear to be able to kick into protect your run away from the dangerous situation. If you don't have a fear, if it, like a lion and tiger come to eat you, so you're just like standing there. That like lots of people said because Australia, the birds doesn't know the cats is the cats eating the birds. They don't know. So when the cat face to them, so they're very naively watching the cat, and then the cat starts, put the paw and then start to kill the birds and eat them. So because they don't have that kind of a fear to know that cat can eat them. So that's why the fear is kind of a very positive aspect, because to protect your life, to be able to continue survival for the survival reason. But also have the other aspect. If you're too fearful, and then you will weaken your body energy and your kidney, because the kidney is like a willpower, is your original energy setting. So like when you have very strong kidney, we said the kidney nourishing your bone marrow and helping you, it's like get your physical very strong. So it's like people kidney strong, so they can carry very heavy things, they can jump like sportsmen. They have very strong kidney, so they can jump, they can doing very kind of dangerous situation like acrobat people. And the acrobat people, when they were very calm, there's no fear, so therefore they can jump into very high place and then turn around doing, it's for us it's almost an impossible action. Because they have been trained not fearful, to letting go the fear to get this kind of training completed. So that is why we can see the fear is also to use as a weapon in the human emotion levels, because if you're fearful, that means you become weak. So that's why, in the society nowadays, some of the leaders, if they want to control the situation, so they use the fear to control the people. So they just said that, for example, there's either communists are going to be attacked you, or the capitalists are going to be taking over of you. So all of that, the both sides can be used the fear for when the people fearful. So that's why they start turn into the fighting mood. So and also they have to feel the need to external sense to protect them. For example, when the people had a short of money, there's no food, so they're so fearful of the bad. Without resource, without money. So when they're growing up, so they're aim to making money, to make a lot of money, because to compensate this kind of a fear. So that's why they feel like if I can occupy lots of material, and then I'm going to have a much better life. So, and then they become crazily and occupied, or try to making so much money, and then try to take so much resource. So that's on the other hand, if people holding the loss of currency or their money and the resource, if they're not for the big mission for the humanity, if they're idea for themselves, so they're fundamentally, you can see they have a deeper fear. Within, even they just said, oh, I want to show, and then I'm very capable. But actually, if you look at the behavior, if people take money away, and why they are so fearful to lose. So that's why, because there's something very deep into the fear. Because they feel, if I lose that, and then I will in a bad situation. So, and then that's why I need to fight. So in this case, if we look at the behavior for lots of people, and then if they are very highly competitive, highly competitive, can be instantly to try to get the food, get their shot. It's like an animal. The animal fight to get food. For human, we have some animal part. So that's why the emotion part is also linked with, to try to fight to get the woman they love. If it's someone else they feel dangerous to take away, they really want to fight so hard to even pay their life. So in all those that is linked with about their how to control the situation for the life. But now when the human rational part, intellectual part is increasing. So that's why they put so much nonsense on the top. So, but if you look deep down, and that's aspect. So that's why if we look at the Earth situation, is so kind of destructive, you will see that kind of emotion pattern driven. Like, if like some of the government try to get elected, so, and then whether they will get into the seats, so they're fight, or there's a link with about the balance, which one is good. But of course, the fighting, the degree start increasing. But why is increasing? Is it because that's a mechanism, so whether I'm loose or not. But there's still a direct link with about the security and also fear. So in this case, safe and secure is a part of a very basic the human emotion condition. So that's why the fear directly linked with this. But interestingly, since we know the kidney and then connecting with that, so that's why people start to put the willpower to set up the goal. Said, okay, I'm going to achieve this goal. So that's why they pumped their kind of and the kidney energy and then the willpower to be able to calling their energy together to make themselves strong. So that is the way when our like human being, we make ourselves stronger. You feel you can control the situation, so your fear is getting less. So that is kind of the constantly you will see there's so much situation is linked with that. Some of the hidden, some of them very, very obviously. So That's why if we understand that's kind of a very much basic and emotion as the fear. So that's why how can we beyond the fear to be able to live in the peace. So you will look the how is the emotion function. For example, and then the kidney is like water. If we will look at above the category above the organs connecting with kind of an element. So that's why even we said that when you're fearful, the water start lost control like a urine. So the kidney is linked with the water. So that's why, and then you see which element get benefit by the water is the wood. So the wood need water to nourishing and then get growing. That's why the kidney connecting with the winter. So when the winter start to get over, now it's the spring times. So that's why the ice melting. Snow is melting, so the water is a flow. So when the water is a flow, the temperature gets warm, and then that's why the wood starts getting short, and then grass getting growing. So that means the wood starts had a life, and then the energy rising up. So according to the element of the wood is linked with the virtual part as the compassionate. So you can see if we don't have much fear, we got plenty of water not leaking, so we can nourishing the liver and then nourishing the wood. So the wood will growing stronger. So that's why our chi will going to rise properly. But if you're surprised and suppress the kidney energy, that means any reason cause the fear. So that's why the kidney gets shrinked, or energy. I'm talking energy. So the energy gets shrinked. So that's why they not provide any nutrition to transfer the to nourishing the wood, the liver. So that's why you can see if the winter, that's when we were doing the full time for our house. So that's why the winter solstice need to have a deep rest. Means you're calm down, you don't burn out, and then you're not fearful. So you accumulate plenty of calmness, plenty of the kidney energy, plenty of water to be able to prepare the liver rising up. The dragon, the liver is like a dragon rising up. So that's why your liver is getting much better. I'm talking rising up is the energy as like the trees and the bushes as start to prosperate. So that's why if this wood energy and not rising up, so that means you have much more life. You're happy to rise to growing. But if the fear suppress that energy, you can see why people come to the spring. So that's why they feel depressed, because the energy not enough to nourishing them to rising up. You can see why when the pandemic come to the winter time, so that starts spreading and then cause lots of people fearful. When they're fearful, so therefore when they come to the springtime, so that they are not really the energy rising up, so they will cause what? Depression. So that's why if you're happy, so that's why they're rising the liver energy will next wood nourishing what? Fire. It's a heart, right? So that's why. So when your energy rises, so your heart, helping your heart much more open. Because you have more wood, so your wood lighting the fire, you feel much more warm, so your heart more open, so that the happiness will happen. So that's why you can see that the system is really connecting with each other. If your heart's opening up, you're so happy, so the fire come out to helping what? The earth. It's like your fire burned up to come to the ash to nourishing the earth. So fire, when they were rising and then cause our human to communicate people much better, create sense much better, right? So and then you're nice to the other people, and then you get more energy increasing, and then that's why you're nourishing the earth, which is a spleen, and then you won't be worried too much. Because the spleen and the sense will cause the spleen weak is what? Worry too much. Thinking too much. That's very familiar, right? So that's why you see when the people say, oh, I'm very depressed, I'm very tired, but I'm eating so much. You can see why there's so much people have put weight on. Because and then we encourage people, brain too busy. If the brain too busy, they worry too much. So that's why, and then they have to eat so much. When they eat so much, so that's why they become heavy. And then they actually, and then burn up to lots of their spleen and then stomach energy. But you see, the spleen stomach energy is linked with their immune system. Because in the Chinese medicine, we said stomach spleen, the character is plenty of qi and plenty of blood right in front of your body, which we already discussed that before in the past about, meridians. So if this, if you're not worried too much, so that's why this energy will get very strong. So what's happening when you're radiating your spleen, your stomach energy, your face, right, your energy. So that's why the virus and the bacteria cannot landing on you, or they cannot jump into your body, and then you won't get infected, because our body is vibration. When your energy is strong, the vibration is like a spin, and then they cannot just even landing onto you. So in this case, if you're very, very happy, and then you are not really getting ill easily. Now, why? Because when your heart open, so you are nourishing the earth and nourishing the spleen and the stomach. So that is about, so when we will say, when you're happy, you're not sit there worried, right? Sit there worried as bad, can be very easy, cause the fear or cause the difficult situation. But of course, everything have two aspects. If you're over happy, you'll cause the heart attack. In the history, that's happening. So that's why everything you need in a certain amount, not overdo it. So that's always yin yang. Or even the spleen, for example, if people spleen too weak because they're worried too much. So that's why in the clinically, in which emotion they can stop this worry. So that means shock. So because the emotion also they have a giving birth, give a nourishment, but also they have a relationship, to over is to kind of control each other. So it's like subjugate each other. So that's why there's a system running. So that's why the body automatically try to compensate above the energy. So you can see if our stomach very strong, our earth strong, what are we going to do? Because and the earth is going to produce the nutrition and the metal. So you will see there's so much element, you know, like a metal, iron, and many other kind of metal comes out. Gold is come from the earth. That's why in the American in the 1920s or whatever, you know, even before there's a gold rush. People just come from in the river to try to get the gold out. So that really means the earth is to nourish the metal, which is almost like including the gold. So that's why if you're not overthinking, so and then your metal is like you can decide it very quick. Because if you're overthinking, people is like, I'm not quite sure what I need to do. Or should I do that? Or should I do that? Oh God, if I'm doing that, I'm probably wrong and I will go and hurt this. If I'm doing that, I'm going to hurt that. So they cannot make decision. Oh, if I do that, maybe people are thinking I'm too I'm too bad. So if I'm doing that, people are thinking I'm trying to show myself. So that's why that when they're overthinking, they cannot make decision. When they cannot make decision, that's why they're weakening their decisive energy, which is the metal. Metal energy is very cool. So okay, I just want to do that. Okay, let me doing that. So that's why they can quickly decide. So of course, we already mentioned that to make decision and need the virtual part, so like the heart energy to help. But if people, there's no heart, no compassionate, heart is linked with the love. Because so my heart open, that means I love you. So that's why that's the heart energy. But if you look at their army, and they don't talk about the love energy. If they talk love energy, they won't join the war. So that's why you will find the metal part is the metal energy, and then they're decisive. So what the army is talking about, they said, okay, quickly get things done, and very efficient. And then you got to be loyal to your boss. So that is what is the army emphasize. So that's why they're not talking. So okay, you open your heart and love for everybody. So that's why you can see our global situation. Why there's so much army and so much competitive, so much kind of a potential dangers of the war. So that's, you can see their kind of a group behavior is because their fear. They become like a national fear. Then national fear, I'm fear the other people are going to hit us. So they're going to have a nuclear war to bomb us. So that's why we need to get ourselves strong. We need to increasing our kind of a nuclear weapon to be able to, competitive. So all of this is about the sharp and then decisive, and then to be strong to fight. But if you look the strong on the fight, underneath is the fear. So that's why the lung is decisive, is going down, is the cool, and what is nourishing, and then the nourishing the kidney. So that is the system running as the circles as to be able to balance. So that's why, if we call some people, they're always talking, oh, everybody's nice, we all laugh. But there's also still trouble because our society is not like everybody will love each other. So that's why they need balance. They need to have some kind of sharpness and then the coolness and the rational aspects to be able wisely identify the people hasn't really opened the heart. And then they're fighting for themselves. So you need to identify this and understand that, and then to be able to strengthen that clarity, to have a clarity, to have that decisive, and then to protect your life. And so that's why you can see all of this emotion if they were not really balanced up. So that's why, and if you see the societies, their way of thinking, their pattern. So why, and the American, they have an election. That's why so much people try to fight into White House, because there's also the anger. So the anger, if you look at the system, we will turn back the anger linked with the wood. So the why the anger happening is linked with the water and the kidney. Why the water, the kidney, and then cause that anger is because people will afraid of if the person who lost the election won't be represent them, and then their life going to be getting worse. So that is kind of the deep emotion which is running all the time in our life, and then those deep emotion actually driven. Like people driven by that, even we're in the intellectual circles or even in the leadership, they always said, oh, you got to be kind of intelligent to run those things. But you cannot just like block your eyes, not look into there's a deep emotion pattern who sometimes much more stronger than your intellectual thinking.
That's very interesting, right? Because particularly if you try and block those emotions, if you're an intellectual person, you become much more emotionally driven too, right?
Yes. If you try to suppress your emotion, so your emotion never really got the chance to get their right position to express them. So that's why you can see the society, the psychiatrists, psychiatrics problems is because people either they don't really know how to express themselves, but because they feel they should be polite, they keep telling them, I must come, I must be logic. But there's some of sense turning inside and it's driving them crazy. But if you don't understand why and how, so you that is a part of the wisdom. So it's like in the Yellow Emperor Internal Canon Medicine classical book, actually mentioned that quite a lot. It said, if you understand 5 elements, 5 emotion, 5 organs, so and then 5 virtues, so therefore you know how to wisely to channeling their imbalance. For example, we were talking about there are cases. There's one of the ancient doctor. He is treating one of patients as the leaders. So he was suffering really kind of a warrior because he tried to get governing everything's correct, but he's worried too much about the right or wrong, so he couldn't kind of make decision, and then eventually he got almost like a depressed. So that's why his spleen is very weak and the stomach is very weak. So when that doctor come, so he start gave that doctor, that governor, and gave doctor the best food, the best everything. So because it's very famous, he thought he could cure his problem. So that doctor just eat and play and never really treat him. So, and then because, the people, when they have worried too much, so, and then because their energy is a little bit weak, and also because they cannot make a decision, they always wait. They keep waiting. So, and then he's waiting, said, oh, maybe the doctor going to see me tomorrow. So, and then nothing happening. He said, maybe the doctor going to see me tomorrow. So tomorrow by tomorrow, tomorrow after tomorrow. So 1 month passed. So, and then he gave the doctor the best food, So, and then eventually, he suddenly find the doctor disappeared. So, and then there's left the letter. The letter just said, "You are a bastard person, and then treat me so bad." And then, so it's really kind of an insult to him. So he was kind of build up, and waiting every day, and eventually, about 1 month, or so angry. So when he was angry, so the energy started to shoot up, and then he got better. Mm-hmm. So that is the way. So like when your emotion so strong to build up, so and then they start, shocked the system, and then to get the patients getting better. So that's a part of the treatment. There's also another cases as an emperor who also get depressed. So he was take so much medicine and never really get better. So that's one of the famous doctor looked his problem. So one day he come in, but the doctor, before he gave the emperor treatment, he told the other people, said that is the treatment, but don't tell the emperor. He even told the emperor's wife, said that's the treatment. Don't tell emperor. So he come in and then hold the sword and then jump into the emperor's room and then put the sword towards him. And I was so shocked, as like someone going to kill him. So that's why when he was shocked, so he was, suddenly he's got better. So he's depressed, stopped. But unfortunately, and then the wife got angry, said, how could you, and then doing that to the emperor, that's just impossible and against the law. And so, but even he already told the wife before. But eventually they killed him because they said, they killed the doctors. But that, because in the ancient time in Chinese history, you cannot hold the swords into the emperor's bedrooms. But anyway, the emperor's disease get better. So that's also the cases, because the shock can treat the long-term depressed, because depressed everything's, you know, and holding back. So you need to have a big shock to make the energy and also the chi flow and move. There's another historical kind of stories. There's one of the intellectual people who is kind of very sad all the time, also crying, and but it cannot, you know, they're also looking for all of the treatment. It doesn't work, so that's why that's the famous doctor come to him, and then hold the pulse, check the pulse, and then tell him, say, congratulations. He said, why? I feel sad all the time. Why you congratulate me? Why you're so happy? He said, it sounds like you're going to be pregnant. So that's when I start laughing. That's ridiculous, doctors. Are you really good doctors? I'm a man. So then the doctor said, well, he left. He just said, oh, I never see so stupid doctor in my life. So every time he was thinking about that, he start laughing. So his sadness has been treated. Because it just feel like that's incredible. They were so funny, huh? So you can see that was in the Chinese medicine, the history, to use the emotion, treat emotion rather than give the pills and the medicine, because the emotion can be very, very quick to get into the internal organs. But so that's why the emotion also can be, you know, the medicine themselves. If you know what's that the problem. So that's why, you know, like when the people get into really, really crazy, and so they cannot control their craziness. So that's why some of the people know that they start asking their questions. As soon as asking questions, suddenly the people, you know, give the question, they have to think. Because when you are thinking, you use the earth energy. And then because the earth energy is much more slow, and then to quiet down people crazy. Craziness. So that's is also that you can see that's the system. They are very complicated. They can be nourishing. You know, the one emotion can give the another emotion other organs to increasing them, to nutrient them, to give them getting stronger, to help them getting stronger. Also can use the emotion to subjugate. You can see our whole earth now, you know, there's so long, so many years has been running by the rational thinking. So if we looked the you know, the statistic, and then their depression, the number of the depression kind of people was increasing. So that's why psychiatrists very, you know, psychiatrists is very busy. Psychologist is very busy. So that's that lots of things. When the people have very, very emotional, you know, it's very, very difficult to try to use the rationality to analyze. It doesn't work. Even like the people were talking about the economic development, economic, history. So they even said the stock market, it doesn't running by the rational thinking, it's the emotion. As soon as people feel rising up, so the emotions all get it. So that's why there's some of the people research about the energetic emotion pattern. They just find the people who doing the stock market, they're much more kind of belief the luck and the good luck about whether your shoes are in the right direction, whether you're wearing the tails, or whether you're counseling the big kind of prophecies or fortune tellers. So so that's why you can ask them, so are they actually really rational to plan, since the plan follow your intellect? So in this case, we need to go in to real the human life. What is the sense really help our human history to move forward? So you can see many films and many kind of famous novels and books and classical books. You know what they're talking about? It's talking about love stories, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the emotion. If you're only talking about very dry theory, nobody interesting. So that's why the literature and the drama. So like a play. So what kind of a play very popular? It's a drama. So what is running? And the drama is talking about the extreme emotion. So in this case, we were talking a very big topic. So that's why you will see, and when we were talking about pandemic, we ran in the conference 10 years ago. But I remember there's the one pandemic expert. When we're talking pandemic can be happening, and how many people died and how many medical kind of equipment was the societies need to be prepared. And then he actually really tell me, he said, what is really harmful in the pandemic is the fear. He said that it's not about it's not the virus themselves. It's not bug themselves. He said that really the big sense, the killing people and also cause the big damage is the fear. So, of course, even talking about people fight to their government, try to release the quarantine rule and the law. No, we kind of revise back in this pandemic, because lots of kind of countries, people kind of go outside and fight and enjoy their life, and then just against whatever government told them. You know why? That's also is a fear, but doesn't look like running by the fear. What type of the fear? Is the fear is about the government control them.
What's very interesting about that, if I can just interject, because the West would look at a country like China and say that's very controlling compared to their country. But what's interesting is Western people in Western countries have much more of a fear of being controlled compared to people in China. Do you think that has to do with the strength of their kidneys? What do you feel there?
Yeah, that's very interesting questions. You know, in China, because during the pandemic, I was first in the West, and then later on come back to China. What I'm observing the Chinese people behavior in the pandemic is they are knowing their own behavior and could be affecting other people. For example, to wearing the mask. So they knew if they don't wearing the masks, because there's so much kind of online information, social media information. It's not even government. And the social media is all kind of talking. So how much your when you're sneezing, so that's a small kind of a water you project it from your sneeze, and then to come how far, the meters, which really means, and if you don't really wearing the masks, so you're going to be affected other people. So it's not, people start to realize that, you're not just protect yourself, it's even you're protecting the other person. So there one sense is linked with what you're talking about, the have good strong kidney overall. There are also because there's this society running above the group consciousness very strong, rather than individual egoistic, because they feel we're all part of our network or our society. If ourself ego too strong, which are going to be affecting other people get sick, and then if the whole society gets sick, I'm going to be affected too, because that's the circles running around. Because they inside they understand complicated complexity system, because they knew everything's running by the circles. You thought you can managing, you don't care the others, but actually when you're not care, you affect the others, and then the whole kind of society, the whole village, and they're going to be locked down, and then yourself also be affected. You don't have freedom to go outside, or you're sick. So that's why the way of thinking of their understanding, the people instantly knowing, is almost, we're always talking, our body is a small cosmos, microcosmos, but the big cosmos, we are the part of the big environment. So we're all kind of connected. That's the Taoist thinking. So like we are in the network, big network. And you're not, you think you're independent, actually you're not. Because everything what you do, you are going to affect the other person, and then the other person affect the other person, for some reason they're going to come back to you anyway. So and then that's the deep kind of network thinking inside themselves. So therefore the developer said, okay, if I'm wearing them, so take the others. If everybody do that, so if we're all doing that, we're all good. We have much less kind of dangerous. So that's why it's become a social responsibility for each person. So that really means their ego knowing they're not is like purely their ego can do everything without affecting each other. So that's why, that's another reason I find if you're emphasize too much about your personal right. So because you need to be wise enough or clever enough, there's no absolutely self-independent. Because we're all depending on the water and the earth and the wood and the metal, and then even we use the computer and then to talk for the online the podcast. We still need that kind of a computer. We still need telephone, and then we still need all of that. But to be able to make that metal, so we need earth. So the earth also, and then need a fire to create the earth, and then the fire need wood, the wood need water. So all of that's the circles connecting to each other. So that's as we call the ecosystem. So that's the ecosystem is to make all of us to be in that network. So that's another reason why, and you probably notice that I mentioned the ego. So the ego is relatively identified you as your soul, or your body, but energetically or socially, and then on the life for living, we all rely for every other people, like people going to produce the food for you, unless you're going to countryside to make yourself. Even you make yourself, you still need kind of equipment to digging the earth. You still need water to water your so, and then you still need to make the either well to get the water come out. So that's why whatever you do, and you're thinking you cannot only do live by yourself. It doesn't work like this. So that is the concept deeply in the Chinese group consciousness. So in this case, when the Western were thinking, oh yeah, you see, and then the government make fear, whatever. But the Chinese people said, oh, our government just like parents, because the parents and then give you an order, try to force you doing something else based on to try to protect you. That was the Chinese consciousness. Oh yeah, but because some intellectual people say, "Wow, they're terrible. They're not freedom as Western Europe. Not freedom. Have personal freedom like Americans better than China." But now all of that kind of talking has become quiet, because the facts will show China looks very, very forceful to shut down the Wuhan city. But now even the China have a few cases come out in the northeast of China, and also near Beijing. So very quickly they are like half shut down Beijing, half shut down the border of those places. But just for above 1 month. So, and then there's no internal case again. So now people start, opening up the border, start to travel again. So everybody is sitting in front of the television saying, oh my God, American death case is so high. China only few thousands, right? 8,000. Comparing the population, China is much bigger than the American. But that's all two big countries. So that's another reason. Now there are lots of people just said, So whether the governing, the leaders are good enough depends on their heart. Or whether their heart for the people to do things. It's like because they immediately notice something was dangerous, but how to make that decision. They make decision very quick. They got quite a strong mental energy when they make that decision. But of course, there's quite lots of other people criticize the government a lot too. But interestingly, for long run, now people all understand, oh, that's really necessary.
It is like children parents.
Yeah, it is like so. That's why even the Chinese language, they're called a country, like a state. Now we call it a state. But in Chinese called 国家. State translate into Chinese called 国家. 家 means family. 国 means large. So in the Chinese consciousness, by large, so the leader of the country is the parents for the big family, just like more people. So that's why if they measure about the good leader or bad leaders, it depends on whether they are going to take care of their children from their hearts or not.